Alright, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be a review of this knife, the Sencut Citius, and also a little bit of a discussion on the brand Sencut. So first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to Mark Kaufman, who loaned this knife to me for review. He has a YouTube channel that I really enjoy. I especially enjoy his videos on Victorinox Swiss Army knives and his slip joint videos. So definitely, if you like knife videos in general, but especially that type of knife video, go check out Mark Kaufman. And again, when people loan me knives, it allows me to make more videos and keep the channel going. I can't buy every knife I would like to review, so I really genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it when people loan knives. And again, thank you to Mark Kaufman for loaning the Sencut Citius, and definitely go check out his channel. I'll put a link to it and to his Instagram in the description. So first of all, when I saw this knife, I had been somewhat aware of Sencut, but I saw that Mark posted it on Instagram and said that it was a budget Civivi. And that kind of confused and interested me, because my understanding was that Civivi was We Knives' budget brand. So this is the Civivi Elementum, one of their popular knives, and my understanding was that Civivi was the budget brand for We Knives. And so when I heard that Civivi now had their own budget line, or I guess We had a new budget line, I thought it was really interesting. I have been really enjoying Civivi knives and We made knives, and I have been really impressed with them. So I was interested to see what a further budget line would be like. And from what I can gather, the Civivi line initially started as a budget line, and then they started to expand it. And so rather than staying in the $40 to $50, maybe $60 range, now they have knives that are more expensive, some Damascus bladed knives and just fancier knives that go up to about $100, which is right around where We Knives starts. The We Banter is about $110, and then We Knives go way up from there to $250, $300, things like that. But Civivi sits in the $50 to $100 range. And from what I understand, they wanted to create a brand that stayed in that $30 to $40 type dollar range, maybe up to $50. And so the Sencut Citius sits on Amazon right now at $40. Now, they have gone on sale for a little less than that, but right now and normally it's about $40. So it's a little bit less than the cheapest Civivis. Now, the Civivi Praxis right now is on Amazon for about $43. So it's pretty close, but definitely a little cheaper. And I think that these Sencut knives are going to stay in that range, and are intended, the line, the brand of knives is intended to not expand in the same way that Civivi has. So I think that's interesting. I will be interested to see how they market it. I haven't seen a whole lot about Sencut on social media. It's just basically they popped up on Amazon, and now they're out in the world. So I'm interested to see how they differentiate the knives from Civivi, how they market the knives, and what comes from Sencut in the future. Currently, I believe there are only 3 models. There's the Citius, and then a couple other models that I haven't gotten a chance to check out. But my first impression of this knife when I got it was that it was very much like a Civivi. So in traditional knives, which I am a huge fan of traditional knives, if you watch my channel, you know that I have a soft spot in my heart for traditional slip joints. In traditional knives, there's a saying, read the knife, not the tang. And what that means is that when you look at a knife and try to figure out who made it, what it is, it's best to look at the construction and the knife overall, rather than focusing on what the tang says or the brand. And that's basically what I felt, or my first reaction when I saw this Sencut Citius, is that it looks and feels like a Civivi knife. And there are several reasons for that. First of all, the handle shaping and finishing is very much like Civivi. So it has some nice, radiuses, bevels along the edge. It has pretty much the same G10 that you see on Civivi knives. And then it also has a very similar finish to the liners. So you can see that it has this kind of dull gray finish that I actually really like. Now, it has a little bit of difference in that it's less rounded, I guess less smoothed out than some of the knives that I've had from Civivi, but definitely a noticeable similarity in the finish on the handle. Another thing is that it has something that a lot of Civivi knives have, which is this type of blade cutout. Now, it's not unique to Civivi, but a lot of them do have it. Again, here is the Civivi Dogma, and you can see it has that same type of long cutout with some, beveling on the inside. Here is the Civivi Wyvern. Now, one really nice thing that I'm happy about on this knife is that this cutout seems to be pretty functional. It actually says that it is functional in the Amazon description. So you can use this cutout to open the knife. And that's not the case for all Civivi knives. So the Wyvern, you can, open it with the cutout, but the Dogma is really not functional. The cutout is really not functional for me. It's just not shaped right. It's too rounded, too beveled on the inside. And so I definitely prefer, if there's going to be a cutout, that it is actually functional. I'm not a huge fan of non-functional blade cutouts. So I like that this one is functional. You can open it by pressing your thumb down into that, and I'm not good at the middle finger flick with this type of hole cutout, but you could probably do that if you were more dexterous than I am. So I do like that it has the two opening methods, the opening hole, which is functional on this, or cutout, and the flipper. And that's the other thing that really makes me feel like this is, has the same blood as a Civivi, or the same genes. It flips really nicely. For a $40 knife, this really is smooth and flips nicely. Civivi just seems to know how to really dial in a detent. So you can see that it really flips out there nicely, and then maybe it needs a little bit of a shake to fall closed, but not always and not much, and it does fall closed. And that's because this knife actually does have ball bearings. It has ball bearing pivots. So that's a really nice feature on a $40 knife. Now, it has another similarity with Civivi and WE knives, which is the pocket clip. This pocket clip is very reminiscent of those on Civivi knives. Some slight differences with the cutouts there, but very similar. So a lot of really, similar things with Civivi. Now, there are some differences. So, for example, the blade finish. The blade finish is definitely different. I haven't seen this type blade finish on any Civivi knives. Now, I haven't had every knife Civivi has made, and I might be forgetting one. But as I've had, knives I've had and knives I've seen from Civivi don't have this kind of stone wash. This is a pretty heavy stone wash, and it's not 100% perfect. There are some parts up here towards the tip that are a little bit polished, but it's a little different finish than Civivi types usually does. And I actually like it. I think that it's a pretty good looking finish. It is, a very functional finish. It's not going to show scratches very easily, certainly not as easily as a satin finish like the Dogma. So I don't mind it at all. It is, let's see if you can see this here. It's kind of hard to see. It is 9CR18 MOV steel, which is actually a steel that Civivi uses on several of their knives. So, not real different there. I have used and think that Civivi's 9CR18 MOV steel is good. Other people have tested it, and it seems to do well. Even in tests I've seen, it seems to do better than their D2, which is interesting. But of course, testing can be somewhat subjective. But it seems to work well. Of course, it's not a high-end steel. It's a low-end steel, I guess you would say, at this point in the game here. We've got a lot of really, really high-end steels now, but it's a fine steel for me. I use 1095 just as much or more than any other steel, and it works well. So it's interesting that it does have a steel that a lot of Civivi knives have. Now the lockup is fine. I've never had lockup issue on a Civivi or We-Made knife, and it seems just the same on this. So really the thing that I find interesting is that it is so similar to Civivi knives. I'm not exactly sure what is different about this knife that is making it less expensive and that's differentiating it as a different brand of knives, right? Sencut versus Civivi. Now, as I pointed out, it does have a different blade finish, which might take less finishing. I imagine certainly it takes less finishing time than the satin finish, and the liners are less rounded, less polished, so that probably takes less finishing. So that might be what's keeping the price down. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be interesting again to see how Sencut differentiates itself from Civivi knives. As for me, I think it's a good thing. Like I said, I have really been enjoying Civivi knives. I think that they make a great knife at a great value. And I think that it's just, a positive for the knife world to have more really, really good value knives like this. I think you're getting a great value at $40, and if you can find it on sale for less, I think you're getting a really, really good value. I probably am going to try one of their other models that has a cool harpoon type blade. I'm forgetting what it's called right now, but I'll probably try that out. And I wanted to give you some comparisons to some other budget-friendly foreign or Chinese made knives. So another one here, this knife was provided to me by SRM, which is the actually higher end brand of Sanrenmu. SRM is Stay Ready for More, and it's a new brand or line from Sanrenmu knives that is higher end than Sanrenmu, so kind of going a different direction than Sencut. But it has similar features. It has G10 handles that are nicely machined. It has a D2 blade. So for me, I generally would have thought D2 was a higher end steel than 9CR18 MOV, but again, testing seems to show that it might not be as good, but they're in the same, I would say, range. Now this has an axis lock, or well, it's not an axis lock, but an axis style lock, whatever they call it. I'm forgetting right now what they call it, but it has an axis style lock rather than a liner lock, and it just has this blade cutout to open it. But this knife is about $30 on Amazon, so very comparable. And I would say I do think that the Sencut feels a little bit nicer, but similar quality. And then another comparison I wanted to show is this Rough Rider. So Rough Rider, again, if you're not familiar with it, is a budget brand of knives. They do a lot of traditional knives, but they also do modern knives, and I feel that their modern knives recently have been really stepping up in quality. Just the other day, a friend showed me another Rough Rider modern knife that he had, which I was really blown away by the quality. And this is a good example. It has, again, machining on the G10 handles. It has a deep carry pocket clip like the other two, and it has nice action ball bearing pivot, liner lock like the Sencut. This one actually has a carbon steel blade, which is an interesting thing, not something you see a whole lot on modern knives. But very comparable, I would say. Again, just feels a little bit less high quality maybe than the Sencut, but very, very similar and comparable in quality. And this one is around $20. So, 40, 30, 20. I think the main thing to take out of this is that we're really lucky, I think, as knife enthusiasts to have such a great range of nice knives. I mean, certainly you can go very, very high end, $200, $300, $400, $500, and get a really nice knife. But you can also go pretty low end and get a really nice knife. These $20, $30, $40 knives that are coming, from China, from reputable brands from China, are really nice knives. And if you're looking for something that has nice action, kind of a cool design, nice finishing, maybe not the highest end materials, but stuff that'll work, I think that these brands are doing good things in that market segment. And I'm interested to see what Sencut brings forward. So I have enjoyed getting to check this out. I think that it's a cool little knife, the Sencut Citius. It fits well in my hand. It, again, flips really well. And I think this would be a great little user. I do really like long, slender knives. I think that they are easy to carry and you get a lot of usability out of them. So I'm actually tempted to get this knife also, but I'm going to probably try a different one from Sencut. But either way, I am looking forward to seeing what Sencut brings out and how they differentiate themselves from Civivi knives. So again, I wanted to really thank Mark Kaufmans for sending this knife. I really appreciate it when people loan knives, and I really think you should go check out his channel, which again, there will be a link to his channel and his Instagram in the description. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it the thumbs up. And if you like this type of content, I really appreciate it if you subscribe and click the bell so you get notified when I post new videos. Also, check out my social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.